Welcome to a story that didn't just build a company, it reshaped the modern world. This is not only a business story, this is not only a success story, this is the story of Microsoft. A company that began in a small room with no power, no influence, and no certainty, and grew into one of the most powerful empires in human history. It is a story of obsession, rejection, risk, betrayal, reinvention, and long-term vision. A story where one young boy dared to believe that software, invisible lines of code, could change how humanity works, learns, communicates, and dreams. Today, we live inside that dream. Every time we open a laptop, every time we use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Windows, or Teams. But behind the screens and shortcuts is a story filled with struggle, fierce competition, painful mistakes, and brilliant strategy. In today's video, we begin the true story of Microsoft, from a college dropout to the world's richest man, from a risky phone call to a company worth over $3.8 trillion. This video is also designed to help you learn English. We use clear, simple, American-style storytelling so you can improve your English while learning powerful lessons about success, leadership, and resilience. So take your time, grab a notebook, because this is not just a video, this is a masterclass in how to think, how to adapt, and how to win. Part 1. The boy who fell in love with computers. Before Microsoft became a global empire, there was just a boy. Not rich, not powerful, not famous. Just a skinny kid with glasses, a restless mind, and a deep obsession with logic. His name was William Henry Gates III. The world would later know him simply as Bill Gates. He was born on October 28, 1955, in Seattle, Washington. His father was a disciplined, respected lawyer. His mother was a warm but ambitious teacher who believed deeply in education. From an early age, Bill was different. While other kids were playing sports, Bill was reading encyclopedias, not novels, not comic books. Dictionaries, legal documents, reference manuals. By the age of 7, his thinking was unusually sharp. He loved patterns, systems, and problem solving. At 13, Bill enrolled at an elite private school called Lakeside. And there, in the late 1960s, long before personal computers were common, Lakeside had something extraordinary. A computer terminal connected to a massive mainframe. Most adults had never even seen a computer. Bill Gates couldn't stop staring at it. He skipped gym class, he skipped lunch, he stayed late. Typing commands, braking systems, fixing them, learning how machines think. And he wasn't alone. Another student shared the same obsession, Paul Allen, 2 years older, quieter, just as brilliant. Together, they pushed the limits. They hacked the system, not for money, but for knowledge. When the school caught them, something unusual happened. Instead of banning them, Lakeside made a deal. Free computer time, if Bill and Paul helped debug and improve the system. That was their first real programming job, as teenagers. Soon after, they launched a tiny company called Trafo Data. They wrote software to analyze traffic patterns for cities. It didn't make them rich, but it taught them something priceless. Real customers, real deadlines, real responsibility. Then everything changed. In 1975, Bill read about a machine called the Altair 8800, the first affordable personal computer. He immediately called Paul Allen. "This is it," Bill said. "The future is here." They contacted the company that made the Altair MITs and boldly claimed they already had software ready. They didn't. They worked nonstop for weeks, no sleep, no backup plan. And when they finally demonstrated the software, it worked. MITs bought it. Bill was 19, Paul was 21. On April 4th, 1975, Microsoft was born. Bill Gates soon dropped out of Harvard. Not because he failed, because the opportunity was too big to ignore. I can go back to school, he believed, but this moment won't wait. Part 2. Rise, Rivalry, and Dominance. Microsoft did not rise with glamour or headlines. There were no launch parties, no designer offices, no luxury. In the beginning, Microsoft was just a small group of young programmers living on fast food, caffeine, and impossible deadlines. They worked in cramped rooms with almost no furniture. Sometimes the only thing in the office was a desk, a computer, and stacks of code printouts. Bill Gates believed one thing very deeply: software would be more important than hardware. While Microsoft was quietly writing code, another dream was forming just a few hours away in California: Steve Jobs. Jobs was not focused on logic first. He was focused on experience. He wanted computers to feel human, beautiful, simple, emotional. In 1976, Apple was born in a garage. While Microsoft was building software, Apple was building machines. In 1979, Steve Jobs invited Bill Gates to Apple's headquarters. There, Jobs showed Gates a secret project: a computer that didn't require typing commands, no black screens, no green text. Instead, there were windows, icons, menus, a mouse you could click. This was the graphical user interface. When Bill Gates saw it, he didn't just see a cool idea. He saw the future of computing. Apple believed this innovation would give them total control of the market. So confident, they hired Microsoft to build software for their next computer, the Macintosh. Microsoft created early versions of Word and Excel for Apple. But behind the scenes, Bill Gates was thinking strategically. He asked a dangerous question: what if software didn't belong to just one machine? Apple believed in closed systems. Their software worked only on Apple hardware. Bill Gates believed in openness. He realized something critical. Most people could not afford Apple computers, but many companies were building cheaper personal computers. IBM, Dell, Compaq, HP. What if all of them could run the same software? Instead of selling computers, Microsoft would sell the operating system. That decision changed the entire industry. In 1985, Microsoft launched Windows 1.0. It wasn't perfect, it was slow, it crashed. But it introduced a powerful idea: a graphical system that could run on almost any PC. Then came Windows 2.0, then Windows 3.0. By 1990, Windows 3.0 was a massive success. Millions of copies were sold, businesses adopted it, schools adopted it, homes adopted it. Then came the moment that changed everything. August 1995. Microsoft launched Windows 95. This was not just software, it was a cultural event. People lined up at midnight outside stores. Microsoft paid millions to use the Rolling Stones song Start Me Up. The start button became iconic. Within 5 weeks, Windows 95 sold over 7 million copies. By the late 1990s, over 90% of the world's personal computers were running Microsoft software. Microsoft was no longer competing. It had become the standard. In 1986, Microsoft went public. The stock exploded. Bill Gates became a billionaire at age 31, the youngest billionaire in history at that time. Microsoft dominated operating systems. Microsoft dominated productivity software. Windows, Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, every office, every school, every business. Microsoft was everywhere, and it looked unstoppable. Part 3. The Fall Lawsuits and Lost Momentum. With massive success came massive attention. By the late 1990s, Microsoft was no longer seen as a clever innovator. It was seen as a giant, and giants attract scrutiny. Microsoft software ran on more than 90% of the world's personal computers. Windows was everywhere. Office was everywhere. And governments began asking a dangerous question: was Microsoft too powerful? In 1998, the United States government filed a historic lawsuit against Microsoft. The accusation was serious. Microsoft was using its dominance to crush competition. The government argued that Microsoft forced computer manufacturers to install Windows, leaving no room for alternatives, that it bundled Internet Explorer for free to destroy rival browsers like Netscape, that it controlled the software ecosystem like a monopoly. This was the biggest antitrust case since the breakup of AT&T. Suddenly, Bill Gates, once seen as a brilliant visionary, was portrayed as a ruthless monopolist. The trial was intense. Executives were questioned, internal emails were exposed, the company's aggressive tactics were placed under a microscope. One moment became especially damaging. Bill Gates gave a recorded video testimony. Instead of appearing calm and cooperative, He came across as defensive, sarcastic, and impatient. The footage went public. The image of the humble genius was replaced with that of an arrogant billionaire. Public opinion shifted. After months of hearings, the judge delivered a shocking decision. Microsoft should be broken into two separate companies, one for Windows, one for everything else. Investors panicked. The tech world froze. Although Microsoft appealed and eventually avoided the breakup, the damage was already done. In 2001, the final settlement allowed Microsoft to survive, but under strict rules. The company could no longer operate with the same aggressive freedom. Microsoft had won the case, but it had lost its innocence. In January 2000, Bill Gates stepped down as CEO. He handed leadership to Steve Ballmer, his longtime friend and business partner. Ballmer was energetic, loud, sales-driven. Under him, Microsoft continued to grow financially, but something important was missing. Innovation slowed, risk-taking disappeared. Then came the biggest shift in modern technology, the smartphone. In 2007, Apple launched the iPhone. It changed everything. Microsoft had mobile software, but it was designed for styluses, not fingers, for business users, not consumers. Windows Mobile felt outdated. Microsoft reacted late. They launched Windows Phone, clean design, strong performance, but developers ignored it. Apps were missing. Users stayed away. In desperation, Microsoft bought Nokia for over $7 billion. The deal failed. Nokia collapsed. Microsoft wrote off billions. At the same time, core products began to stumble. Windows Vista was slow, buggy, and unpopular. Windows 8 removed the Start menu, a move users hated. Businesses refused to upgrade. While Apple dominated phones, Google dominated search and Android, Amazon dominated cloud computing. Microsoft looked stuck in the past. The narrative became brutal. Microsoft is big but boring. Analysts said the company had lost its soul. Many believed Microsoft's best days were over. The world said Microsoft was finished.
Part 4. The Quiet Comeback. Satya Nadella. By 2014, Microsoft was still huge, but it was tired. It had money, it had users, it had history. What it lacked was momentum. Inside the company, teams were divided. Departments competed instead of collaborating. Engineers were afraid to take risks. Managers protected their products instead of improving them. Microsoft wasn't failing, but it was slowly falling behind. That's when a very different kind of leader took over. Not loud, not flashy, not aggressive, a calm engineer. His name was Satya Nadella. Born in Hyderabad, India, Nadella studied electrical engineering, then computer science, and later earned an MBA while working full-time. He joined Microsoft in 1992 and spent more than 20 years inside the company, quietly building systems, leading teams, and learning how Microsoft truly worked. When he became CEO in 2014, many people outside Microsoft didn't even know his name. But what Nadella understood was this. Microsoft's biggest problem was not technology, it was culture. So he didn't start with a product launch, he didn't start with profit targets. He started with people. Nadella introduced a simple but powerful idea. Don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all. For years, Microsoft had believed it already knew the answers. Nadella flipped that mindset. He encouraged curiosity, collaboration, humility. He told teams, stop defending broken products, start fixing them. Stop competing internally, start learning externally. Slowly, the fear inside Microsoft began to disappear. Then Nadella made his next bold move. He shifted Microsoft's future away from Windows as the center of the universe. Instead, he focused on something bigger, the cloud. Under Nadella, Microsoft poured billions of dollars into Azure, its cloud computing platform. At the time, Amazon Web Services dominated the market. Microsoft was far behind. But Nadella didn't chase headlines. He focused on execution. Building data centers around the world, offering businesses secure, scalable cloud infrastructure, helping companies move their software, data, and operations online. Azure began to grow, quietly, steadily, powerfully. Next came another radical change, open source. For decades, Microsoft had treated open source software as an enemy. Nadella changed that overnight. Microsoft joined the Linux Foundation, released tools for developers, supported open source projects. Developers who once hated Microsoft began to trust it again. Then Nadella broke another rule. Microsoft stopped treating Apple and Google as enemies. Office was released on Mac, then on iPhone, then on Android. Instead of forcing users into Windows, Microsoft followed users wherever they went. That decision alone unlocked hundreds of millions of new customers. Then came the most important bet of all, artificial intelligence. In 2019, Microsoft quietly invested $1 billion in a small research lab called OpenAI. By 2023, that investment had grown to more than $13 billion. Microsoft didn't just fund OpenAI, it powered it. Azure became the backbone that trained massive language models like GPT-3 and GPT-4. In return, Microsoft gained exclusive access to integrate this intelligence directly into its products. That's when Copilot was born. Not as a separate app, but as a silent partner inside tools people already used. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, Windows. Copilot could write, summarize, analyze, create, explain. It didn't replace humans, it amplified them. This was Nadella's genius. He didn't chase hype, he made AI useful, invisible, and powerful. Under Satya Nadella, Microsoft didn't just recover. It reinvented itself, quietly, relentlessly, successfully.
Part 5. The Future. AI, Impact, and Legacy. Today, Microsoft is no longer just a technology company. It is infrastructure. It runs quietly beneath the surface of the modern world. Governments use Microsoft systems to manage data, communication, security, and national services. Hospitals depend on Microsoft Cloud and AI tools to store patient records, analyze medical images, and coordinate life-saving care. Schools and universities rely on Microsoft Teams, Word, and cloud platforms to teach millions of students every day. Researchers use Microsoft Azure to run simulations that once required supercomputers, including climate science and space exploration. From local city offices to global institutions, Microsoft has become part of how civilization functions. Financially, the numbers are staggering. Microsoft's market value has crossed $3.8 trillion, placing it among the most valuable companies in human history. Its annual revenue exceeds the GDP of many countries. Its products are used by over 1 billion people across nearly every nation on Earth. But if you stop the story here, you miss the most important truth. Microsoft's real legacy is not money. It is empowerment. Microsoft succeeded not because it chased attention, but because it focused on usefulness. It built tools that help people do real work. Students writing their first essays, teachers preparing lessons, doctors diagnosing illness, engineers building bridges, entrepreneurs launching startups, artists creating stories, developers writing code. Microsoft doesn't stand in front of these people. It stands behind them. Like an operating system for the world, invisible, reliable, always running. And that philosophy defines its future. Artificial intelligence is now becoming the next foundation of human productivity, and Microsoft is embedding AI not as a toy, but as a partner. AI that helps humans think better, work faster, learn deeper, create more. Not to replace people, but to elevate them. That is why Microsoft's growth has been quiet, steady, and lasting. No constant hype, no viral drama, just execution. The Microsoft story reminds us of something powerful. Great things are rarely built loudly. They are built patiently, by people who keep showing up, who learn from failure, who adapt instead of quitting. Microsoft's story is still being written. And if you are watching this, learning, dreaming, building, maybe this is your reminder that you don't need to start big, that your story doesn't need permission. You just need to start. Because somewhere, in a quiet room, the next world-changing idea is already being built. And maybe that story is yours.